And welcome to the Four Piece Podcast. My name is Trunnis Goggins, and we are in. If you are in the Northern Hemisphere, I have to specify that because I know a lot of you guys are listening to this and you guys are freezing. We are in summer. It is a little bit of vacation time, and literally right after I get finished recording this, my son and I are going to a father and son trip. We're going to Montreal just for a couple days. And we are going to go see Montreal FC play Toronto FC. My son is a huge Montreal FC fan. I really don't know the reason why, but that's where he wants to do it. So that's his game, that's his team, and that's what it is. So by default, I am a Toronto FC fan. So I'm going to say go Reds. Let's hope they win, and we'll see what happens from there. But today, we actually have a phenomenal guest. Her name is Jodie Solberg. She is she's phenomenal. She has a book out now that we talk about a little bit called Burnout to Bliss. Leadership. We are working our tails off. We're working our tails off all the time. We are trying to catch up with whatever. I don't know what we're trying to catch up with. And even me saying this, I get kind of like stuck. I mean, we're just working. We're working all the time. And now with technology, we can't stop working. And our bosses, they just assume that just because I can reach you, I should reach you. And that is a horrible thing that's going on. And it does lead to burnout. It leads to burnout so fast. And so you want to, first of all, you want to listen to this podcast, but second of all, you want to read her book. You want to get her book, Burnout to Bliss. When we come back, we're going to be talking to Dr. Jodie Solberg right after this.
Purpose gives your life direction. Planning turns that direction into action. Passion gives your mission energy. Persistence keeps you moving when the road gets hard. The 4 Ps of You is more than a book. It is a framework for building a life with meaning, focus, and follow through. Discover your purpose. Create your plan. Fuel it with passion. Finish with persistence. The 4 Ps of You by Trunnis Goggins II. Available wherever books are sold.
Hello and welcome back to the 4 Ps podcast. Today I have a very special guest, a book that I'm still reading. Burnout to Bliss is the name of the book. It is a great book because, and before I introduce our, I just want to say that when you listen to this podcast, you're always hearing me say, go, 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 just go. And I can't stop. I always, here's your goal. What's your plan? All this other stuff. This book that I'm reading by Dr. Jodie Solberg is actually the type of book that every leader, everyone with any type of motivation or any goal or anything, this is the book that they need to read. They need this to put their goals, their life, their leadership, their purpose in perspective. Dr. Jodie Solberg, all the way from Arizona. How are you doing today?
Good. I'm doing so great. Thank you. And today, it's always hard to keep track of me because I am in different places every time we talk. But today, I'm actually at home up in the mountains in Washington State.
Very
But my
good.
family is from Arizona. And I think the last time I saw you, I was in Arizona
Yeah.
visiting and doing some work. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm way up in the corner of
Okay.
the US at the moment. And yeah, just thank you for that lovely compliment about the book. It was really designed for, like you said, anyone who, has a goal, who is, working for themselves, is working for somebody else. I mean, anybody can really relate to this because in our society, we're just go, go, go. And, we're told to be productive all of the time, and it can be to our detriment. And so
Yes.
I'm really glad to get it out there and to share my burnout story with other people so it can benefit them.
Well, thank you so much. Now, I have to ask you a question because, yes, every time I do talk to you, you are somewhere different. And
It's
not
true.
only every time I talk to you, you're somewhere different. One of your business partners actually is not even on this continent. They're in Europe.
True.
So
Yeah.
sometimes I might call and say, I don't know. I have no idea where you are. Now, with that being said, anybody who knows the United States, Arizona, where I talked to you last, to Washington
Mhm.
State is not a quick walk. Let's just put it this way. So I am sure you flew from Arizona to Washington
I
State.
did. I used to
Okay,
drive. I used to make that drive way back when I was in college. I would drive back and forth, and it was a 24-hour drive between
absolutely.
where I was in Arizona to Seattle. But that was when I was much younger, and it makes me tired to think about that now. So yes, I
Yeah.
fly a lot of places, including, like you said, around the world, and spend a lot of time in Europe. And then my business partner spends a lot of time here as well. So yeah, we're always on the move. Hmm.
Excellent. Excellent. And then before we actually, well, we'll talk about that later on. I was going to say something
Okay.
about what we're going to be doing together, but I'll talk about that much later
Yes.
on. So let me just talk
Sounds
about that
good.
a little bit. And it's the reason why I'm wearing this shirt, by the way, today. There you go. Because you're like, wow, Trunnis, you're wearing something very colorful today. And yes, I am. This is my favorite jersey, but we'll talk about that here in a little bit. Anyway, Dr. Solberg, when we talk about burnout, there are so many demands that are we are facing today. There are economic demands, there are family demands, there are things that we are expected to do just to do. With technology, we are expected to be available at all times. I know I've seen people do it. Hey, I know that, I know that they have that phone in their hand. So why aren't they answering the phone? Or why aren't they responding to my text right off the bat or something like that? Then we have other things going on where we just have so many demands. Burnout is at an all-time high. That's something that we don't have to talk about. I mean, that's not like a figure, that's not even research. People are just burning out. You see it on the news where people have extreme burnouts and do some extreme things. What is your method now to try to put things in the right perspective?
Yeah, to put things in order, of really what our real priorities are. And like you said, there's so much pressure, there's so much expectation to be on all of the time and to be available, to be reachable. And there's more information because of technology that comes into our brains in a month now than used to with our ancestors be in a lifetime, truly.
Mhm.
There's so much data and so much information. So it's really important to be able to turn things off and to set boundaries and to walk away and to build in breaks for ourselves. So those are really a lot of my strategies. One of the things that I did that I always joke and tell people, you don't actually have to do this if you don't want to. But for me, I did change my whole lifestyle. Like I said, now I live up in the mountains. I moved out of the city. At that time for me, when I was experiencing chronic burnout, I was just always piling everything on myself. I had been a high achiever my whole life and I was doing all of the things, and that was nothing new. But at this point, I was commuting, I had my own business. I was, just go, 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 pretty much 24/7, like you were saying. And so I was taking care of everyone and everything else first ahead of myself, to the point where my body just fought back and said no. And so I've gotten really connected now to listen to those little cues and the little taps on the shoulder versus getting hit over the head with a frying pan, like in the old cartoons. It's like knock you out. It's basically how I felt. Like I was just, at the point where I couldn't take care of anyone, including myself, because I had pushed myself for so long. And so now it's about, being able to turn things off and get outside and, connect with the things that bring me joy. That was one of my big cues years ago. Was somebody had asked me in a coaching conversation, perhaps something like that, what brings you joy? And I knew what those things were, but I wasn't doing any of them. And there were things I hadn't done in years, literally. And so for me, it's figuring out, what can I do to take care of myself first? So then I can show up for everyone and everything else at my best, and turning off or keeping away the devices is part of it because I work online. I'm, online all the time
Right.
when I am, working. And so when I'm not working, sometimes I want to just not talk. Sometimes I want to, not be plugged in to the phone. Sometimes I want to just have some, quiet time or get away or take care of myself. But whatever that looks like, even if it's just 15 minutes, 30 minutes, like those are some of the things that I build in throughout the day instead of going from thing to thing and rushing myself. Like before we got on here, I decided that I needed to rest and take a little break. And so I literally just turned the lights off and rested for a little bit, put the phones away, and I put the alarm where I could hear it. So
Wow.
I knew when it was time to get ready. But, I felt like, okay, I've been kind of burning the candle at both ends a little bit the last, couple days. Let me go ahead and get this little break for myself so I have the energy to show up instead of just continuing to burn myself to, the bottom. You think about like the coffee pot,
Right.
right? You just keep pouring it out and pouring it out throughout the day. And a lot of people do that, especially when they're burning out, right? They just keep caffeinating. Well, if you get to the bottom and you put it back on the burner, what happens? They burn the whole bottom.
Absolutely. Right.
Instead of just continuing to fill up with water until it overflows, that's what I do now. That's my strategy now is let me fill myself up so much that I give people the overflow instead of burning myself to the bottom.
That is a beautiful thing to say. You brought up
Thanks.
a little while back about, you brought up a term that, to be honest with you, is the first time I've heard it used in that way. You said chronic burnout. Now,
Yes.
I want to go back to that real quick because I am sure there are certain people out there that may be suffering and have no idea what it is. And because they burn out from time to time or they have things happen to them, they're probably wondering what are the symptom or the signs or symptoms of chronic burnout.
Hmm. Well, it's going in cycles, basically, where you overwhelm and overload yourself and you know that you're getting burnt out. So you're like, I'm just gonna take a break. I'm going to take a vacation. I'm going to, go to the spa, get my nails done, go golfing, go do something I like to do, right? I'm going to take a little bit of time. And then they go right back to the old cycle and pattern again. And so what happens is they put a little bit of a band-aid over it.
Hmm.
It may feel better temporarily, but they're not actually fixing the problem, which is the system that they're living in, right? All of these patterns and these routines that they're in on a regular basis that keeps creating the burnout. And so they think these like kind of surface level self-care things
Hmm.
are going to make it better without actually looking at it from a systemic point of view of what am I doing that's leading me to that depletion in the first place. And
Okay.
so that's what I mean when I'm like, okay, we need to kind of do an overhaul. And like I said, you don't have to, move into the middle of nowhere like I did. You can, absolutely. And it's
Right.
fabulous. And I did it just pre-pandemic, which was the best thing I ever did because then that wall of stress in the city, I was able to leave that behind. And so for me, it worked. You don't have to necessarily do that. It's something that fills my cup. I grew up further out in the country. And so for me, it was like, moving back home type of a situation. But regardless of that kind of situation that you're in, you can change your routines, you can change your surroundings. You don't have to, chuck it all and move to Bali in order to be able to really change the patterns that you're in. Because that's what happens. We get in these cycles, we get in these patterns as humans, and we like what's familiar. And so we keep doing that. And so I needed to really look at for myself what is motivating me to pile this much on in the first place, and how can I change my life, my lifestyle, in order to not support me falling back into those old patterns. And for me, it was really, and most people, it's these subconscious limiting beliefs of things like we have to work really, really hard to be successful, or if I rest, I'm lazy and not being productive. Things like that that are drilled into us from usually a really young age that then are causing us to feel like we have to go, go, go all of the time. Or like you said, we have to respond, we have to text back immediately, we have to do
Right.
these things. We can't just set that aside. And there's a lot of people, I mean, I'm pretty much the last of the generations that remember all the times before we had the internet on all of the time. And so there's a lot of people who don't even remember or even know what it's like to not be like that anymore.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's funny how I look back at things that I do now with technology and I'm like, how in the hell did I live? No, I mean seriously, I'm like, how did but the thing is,
Like, how
I
did I
would
get from point A to point B? How did I do anything? I know.
anything, call, walk, on the phone, listen to music. I don't remember any of that, right?
Yeah.
But all that aside, you said you work online. You obviously have clients. Do you take clients from everywhere?
But yeah, I do actually.
Okay.
Yes, I have clients from all over the world, and so I do take clients from everywhere. But I don't take all the clients all the time anymore. So that's a big part of that. I really do love working with people virtually. It does allow me to take care of me in a better way. Back when I was going through that chronic burnout myself, I had a couple different offices. I was, like I said, piling things on and go, 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 and appointments back to back to back. And so now I am still taking clients. And like you mentioned, so I'm a hypnotherapist
Right.
and I have a hypnosis training academy. So I train hypnotherapists from around the world. So I split my time with that. So there's only one of me to go around. So I've set up things like group programs or my trainings where I can work with multiple people at the same time. And when I do work with clients one on one, again, I'm taking those breaks in between. I'm replenishing because I need to be able to show up with the right energy for those clients and not bring in my own stuff and my own burnout, my own exhaustion into it. So, yeah, I am still taking clients. I just do it in a way that serves and supports me better so that I can serve them better now.
Absolutely. And you know what? I will say this, that all of the ways to contact Dr. Jodie Solberg will be in the podcast notes here. One thing I do want to say is I want to go back to the reason why I'm wearing this shirt and the reason why I'm talking to Jodie in the first place. First of all, her information is definitely needed. Like I said, in my podcasts, in my books, in everything, I'm always talking about goals, plans, purpose, passion, persistence, all of those things, which takes a lot of energy. I have a book that literally is 234 pages, I believe it is, and there are only 6 pages devoted to peace. I hate to say it like
Okay.
that. I know, and I saw your eyes like, okay, but I
Oh,
mean,
remember
I
that surprises me a little bit, but okay.
yeah, and it is. It's just only 6 pages. And the thing is what I need to make sure that every my followers, my listeners, people who read my book, I even at the end of the book, I end the book with peace. It's not a 4P, it's fifth P, I guess. But anyway, but it's still a P. But I really want to make sure that there are people that are around me that kind of balance out the message. Okay.
Mhm.
If you do exactly what's in my book, you're going to be successful. But if you do it all the time, you are going to burn out. And then you need Dr. Jody's book. You need it quickly.
Yes.
Okay. So, what I want to do is I want to avoid that. Buy both books at the same time. But
Yes.
also
I was gonna say,
listen. There you go. Just put them together. You read one chapter of mine, then go to, all right, let's see what Dr. Solberg has to say. But anyway, we are having, and this is why I'm wearing the shirt, we are having a huge events, plural, in Sydney, Australia. And it is going to be from November 7th to the 17th. And we are actually going to put in the Burnout, and we haven't had a title yet or anything like that in the so there's no title, no tickets yet to be sold. I just want you to know right now that Dr. Jodie Solberg will be in this event, and she will be a part of this event. And I'm wearing this shirt to publicly say that I need to take her to the Sydney Swans Stadium and the Sydney Swans. It's almost like a museum. It's a great place to. They're doing tours. One of the players for the Sydney Swans back in March, a former player, his name is Barnaby Horworth. He took me and my wife and some others on a tour. We got to meet the players and all this other stuff. It is called Australian football. It's AFL, Australian rules football. Okay. Do you know anything about it? Because you're going to learn real fast.
I don't. I'm very, very familiar with American football. I
Mhm.
actually have a lot of family members in that type of sports arena. But Australian football, I'm not familiar. So I'm excited to learn more.
It is Australian football is played in an oval. Okay, so it's an oval.
Okay.
It is actually I don't remember. I think it's 23 aside for players, if I'm not mistaken. And then it also has a it's always moving. It's like if you take rugby and soccer and blend them together, a little bit of NFL football too, and that's what you get. You get
Okay.
Australian rules football. They play. It's a very rough sport. I am not going to joke. It is a very rough sport. It is awesome to watch. I love watching it in person, especially after I met him. But we're going to take you so you can definitely get one of these jerseys. This one is a special jersey. As you can see, the artwork is from the indigenous people of Australia, and I got it. It's
Yeah,
one of
that's
their. It's an
cool.
indigenous jersey. I got it for that reason. I love Australian art as you or indigenous art as you can see right behind. I have one right there. I just love it. But anyway, that's why I got the shirt. But I wore this shirt today to announce that Dr. Jodie Solberg and her partner, will be in Sydney, Australia, November 7th through 17th. There are going to be several events that are going to go on during those 10 days. You will get a total map out of everything. We're working on the details right now. And as we get closer and closer and closer and closer, more and more stuff will be leaked out. But I am so honored to have you and Cormac on our tour. I really am. I cannot wait for you to have it. You're going to be with some Australian leaders as well. We're going to be talking to, and so I'm saying this loudly. So if you are in the Sydney area and you are in HR or anything like that, I really think that you need to be at this program, at least to hear, especially when we talk about burnout, because I know HR, one of the biggest things that we're dealing with in HR in America and definitely in the Western world is burnout in all levels of burnout, and it's good to have them. So as I tell you how to organize everything and meet those goals and hit those KPIs, we're going to definitely have somebody to offset it. There you go.
Yes.
And on one of our days off, I am taking you to the Sydney Swans facility, and you're going to have to. You're gonna enjoy it. You really are. I enjoyed it. I fell in love with the sport just like that. I will say this: I can't. You can watch it on TV in the United States, but TV does not do this sport justice. You really need to watch it live. It does not do it justice. So there you go.
I love live sports. Yes, that'll
Good.
be really fun. I'm
So
excited
do I.
about that. And still love native art. My family, which is why I lived in Arizona and have so much family in Arizona, is actually Native American. And so interested in the Aboriginal art as well when we go
Oh,
to Australia. And that's really going
you
to be fun to see.
you are absolutely going to love it. Like I said, I buy it. Bring every time I go. I always buy and bring another one home. That is my latest one right there. So I have it all over the house. So there you go. It's very nice, very nice. And that's actually on a 10. So it's just
Hmm.
on a 10. It's actually really cool. And it was actually easy to ship. So Yeah, it's a lot better than bringing something and then wondering if it's going to make it down in the luggage.
Yeah.
Yeah, just put some.
When they trash your luggage, yeah, and just
Yeah,
toss everything everywhere. Yeah,
exactly.
the good idea.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So there you go. Well, thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you on the program. Like I said, Dr. Jodie Solberg's information will be in the podcast notes. This is not the last time you'll see her on here, but it is definitely the first time. Thank you so much. We'll be right back right after this.
From the pain of losing a child to the courage of veterans finding new purpose. From the grief of friends and family gone too soon to the redemption of those who've fallen and risen again. Each story reminds us that even in our darkest moments, there is light. Even in heartbreak, there is healing. Even in loss, there is love, because these are stories of loss. Stories of struggle, stories of hope.
Episode. Welcome back to the final segment of this 4Ps podcast. I hope you enjoyed Jodie's interview today. Hope you got something out of it. One thing I do want you to know is you are important. And you probably already know that. You probably already heard that. You probably think it's probably cliche, all that other stuff. But I want you to think that when you think about that. And I want you to start telling yourself you are important. One of the best ways to add to burnout and quickly is being accessible all the time. Being accessible not only at work, but to everything. Please realize that your job, and I'm not telling you to quit your job has a mission, and you are just part of the machine that is, going to get you that mission. I'll give you an analogy, okay? If my car has a bad alternator, I'm getting a new alternator. I'm fixing it. It's not doing exactly what I needed for it to do in order for my car to perform at the level it needs to perform. So I have to get rid of it. Okay. Now, that's just all there is to it. Okay. And that's what we think. There are so many mitigating circumstances that could have gone wrong with that alternator. Everything. So if you think about it, um, you're part of a machine that is taking an organization somewhere. And if they feel, now I'm not saying that if you're now in the case that I'm using the alternator, it's about performance. All right. If the the car is not performing at the way, I mean the alternator is not performing at the way it's supposed to perform. But if the organization feels that you are not performing or you are not fitting, or you know what, I can do this without you, you're gone. You're gone in a heartbeat. You know, just a couple days ago, Senator Lindsey Graham from South Carolina, he died, and it is a shame. We'll talk about this later on, but I'm not going to talk about it right now. I don't want this. This is not the political aspect of it. So he died on Sunday morning, Saturday night, Sunday morning, somewhere in that time frame. Yesterday was Monday, and before the sun set down on the 13th of July, there was a new senator of South Carolina. Now, it was a sister. I think it was admirable for the governor, McMaster, in South Carolina to do that and appoint his sister to finish off his term. But just like that, we don't even know when, where, how they are going to celebrate the life of Lindsey Graham. But we do know who the new senator of South Carolina is. Granted, stuff needs to be done. The country needs to keep on going with or without that piece. Okay? That is the same thing that happens in companies. You turn in a 2-week resignation before you even fill your box up. It's gone. Okay? Your spot is there's a posting and an internal posting and probably an external posting as well. Okay? So I want you guys to realize that sometimes we burn out for things that we know that we shouldn't, and we're temporary. What you should be giving your all to is your family and yourself, and definitely your creator. That's what you should be giving your all to. Now, I'm not saying for you to underperform at your job. I'm not telling you to forget it or anything else like that. I'm just telling you to watch out what you do. And you definitely want to get the book Burnout to Bliss. It's going to help you in establishing a proper mindset. Another book that will help you is this. It's Unscrewed. It is a book that me and my co-writer, Derek Stroken, put together. And it just talks about how, we get so tied up with the things of success and the things of this world, that we get ourselves screwed. There are so many people out there that I mean, they get so tied up in their job, and that's all they identify with. And then when it's too late, usually when they retire, or unfortunately when they're on their deathbed, they realize, like, oh my gosh, I really, really missed out on a lot. So make sure you get Burnout to Bliss by Dr. Jodie Solberg, and then make sure you get this book too. This is a good book. It's called Unscrewed. I co-wrote it with Derek Stroken up in Canada. Really funny guy, great guy. And you definitely want to get this book, but you definitely want to start changing your mindset, and you want to do things that make you less stressed and definitely pulls you away from a burnout. Next week, I was in Las Vegas this past week. I was actually doing a great conference called Freedom Fest. Some just outstanding people that were there: Kelsey Grammer, Rob Schneider, Dean Kane, Steve Forbes. And I will tell you this: Steve Forbes, I was kind of a fanboy. I'm a business professor. I studied business. I have my doctorate in business. And when I met Steve Forbes, who was probably one of the catalysts to get me into business, and I got to talk to him and things like that, I was utterly amazed. We also interviewed a lot of guests while we were there. And we had them all on this program. I have next week, we're going to deal with the youth that were at that. I interviewed 3 outstanding young people at that festival, and I will make sure that you see that next week. We're going to be talking a little bit about that. Like I said, it was just a great event, and we're going to start. Those interviews are going to start coming out in droves. May change the schedule a little bit. I know that we download every Tuesday, but we may, just for the sake of the format for the next couple weeks, let's put it that way, will drastically change here on the 4Ps podcast. But it's not going to change in a way where you're going to hate it. You're actually going to love it. Next week, we're going to start with the youth of Freedom Fest, and it's going to be great. Now I am on my way to Montreal, Quebec. Talk to you soon. See you next week. Bye-bye.